Okay, so we're going to be leading things off again. And one land hand, we do have a Street Wraith to cycle. Thought Scour to draw some cards. Double Death Shadow, obviously the signature card of the deck. So I think this is a keep. I think a lot of players might look at the one land and mulligan, but to me it's a pretty straightforward keep. I'm going to start with cycling Street Wraith. And likely gonna Inquisition of Kozilek here. Yeah, I think that's the play. Get an idea of what we're up against. And we really want to lose a lot of life fairly quickly and get these Death Shadows out. So, alright, we're not playing against a typical deck. So, looks like an artifact combo deck. We see a couple of hate cards that could be very problematic. Both Chalice of the Void and Blood Moon are pretty scary. So the question becomes, which of those two do we care about more? We have this Stubborn Denial, but we may not be able to leverage it the way we would like. So, if our opponent does play Chalice on one, that shuts off most of our plays. Blood Moon also similarly shuts off most of our plays, but the Chalice comes down earlier, so I think we should take the Chalice. By turn 3, hopefully we have the ability to Stubborn Denial that Blood Moon. So we're forced to basically dig for lands here. So I'm gonna cast this Thought Scour, and we were lucky. We hit a land. So now we can actually sacrifice it and play the Gurmag Angler if we want to. So off of this Bloodstained Mire, it looks like we milled the Steam Vents, so we cannot actually find Steam Vents here. But I'm going to get Blood Crypt anyways. And this is a nice opportunity to get this Gurmag Angler into play. Still can't play the Death Shadows yet, so need a little bit more help to get those in. But the Gurmag Angler is really important because it means that it's going to be this Stubborn Denial, the Ferocious is part of it, is going to be turned on. So Pensad Prism we already knew about. And if our opponent has another artifact here, they can then play Blood Moon, but nothing like an Ornithopter or anything crazy like that. Basic Swamp was definitely not the land we wanted to see. Although it does help us against Blood Moon, but we want to be Stubborn Denying that Blood Moon anyways. So I'm just going to attack and pass with the Stubborn Denial available. Sword of the Meek, yeah, we can let that resolve. And there's the Blood Moon. That's the one that we are pretty much forced to counter. Otherwise, it would just shut off all of our non-black cards. Fatal Push doesn't seem particularly good against our opponent's deck. So it's a little bit unfortunate, but we're just not able to get these Death Shadows into play. And that's one of the vulnerabilities to playing the Grixis version, is you're not necessarily losing as much life, but it looks like our opponent just didn't have any more gas, and that's just going to be the game. So this is a spot where we don't know exactly what we're up against, but we do know that our opponent has a lot of artifacts. And we didn't see a ton of creatures, so more counter spells could be good, and then also artifact removal. Cards that don't seem great, the Fatal Push. The Fatal Pushes and Terminates, I think we should be taking out based on what we saw in Game 1. And in exchange, I like just a ton of counter magic here. So the Stubborn Denials, the Rejections, and then the Culligan's Command seems pretty decent. We didn't see, any artifacts that we're too scared about besides Chalice of the Void, but if our opponent does have Chalice, we may need the Culligan's Command. Don't think we need the Graveyard Disruption. We did see Sword of the Meek, so we know about that, and likely our opponent does have Thopter Foundry to combo with that, but I don't think that's necessarily enough of a reason to board in a card like Surgical Extraction, or Nihil Spellbomb, for that matter. So, I think, given what we saw, we're pretty well set up for the matchup. And I am just going to submit this. And I think this draw is pretty good overall. We've got 2 Delve creatures. Don't really need 2, but we should be able to get one of them out fairly quickly. And a couple pieces of Disruption. This isn't a matchup where our opponent seems to be dealing us damage very quickly, so we want cards like Street Wraith to be able to lose life. And here's an Ensnaring Bridge, so that's interesting. We have Culligan's Command in our deck to deal with that, but not in hand. So I think we're at the point where we don't want to draw land, so I'm going to go ahead and fetch first before doing anything. And I think we're in an Inquisition no matter what we draw this turn, so just going to go ahead and Inquisition now. The reason why I did that is our opponent only had 2 cards in hand, so discard is going to get a lot worse. Unfortunately, we didn't hit anything relevant, just a Mox Opal. And our opponent did exile 2 Simian Spirit Guides, so they're kind of all in on this Ensnaring Bridge plan. So we could get a Swamp to kind of offset the variance if our opponent does have a copy of Bloodstained Mire, but I'm just going to go for Steam Vents here. This way, if we draw Death Shadow, we can get it into play ASAP. And with only 1 card in hand, we do have a little bit of a decision of whether to leave Stubborn Denial. Although we can't actually leave Stubborn Denial up if we play Tasker this turn, and I do think we want to get this Tasker into play. So I'm going to play the Tassiger. Now, of course, we're not going to be able to start attacking with it until we do find a Colligan's Command. But we can activate it, which is pretty nice. And if we mill a Colligan's Command, we have a Snapcaster to potentially get that back. Inquisition, sure. Let's check what our opponent's last card is. It's a land. So we're kind of just waiting. We're playing the waiting game. We have Stubborn Denial, so we're not in too much danger, per se. We'll let this Pentad Prism into play. And in case a Blood Moon does get cast, gonna get that basic island, just in case. And there's the Colligan's Command we were looking for. So, we definitely want to get rid of this Ensnaring Bridge that our opponent has. Think we may want to do it during our opponent's draw step. Although we could just destroy Ensnaring Bridge, deal our opponent 2, and attack for 4. Yeah, that's pretty good. We also have the Stubborn Denial up, so I think we're in a pretty good spot. And this way we're putting our opponent on a 3-turn clock. Well, I guess not 3 turns yet, but we do have multiple creatures. We can make it into a 3-turn clock. And there's another Colligan's Command. So we have the option of casting the Skurmag Angler here, but it's really not necessary. So I'm just going to pass. Holding up the Stubborn Denial, and that's just going to be the match here.